How do you know a Frenchman's been in your backyard?
Hey, I'm French, okay?
Your garbage cans are empty and your dog's pregnant.
Didn't I just say I was French?
I knock.
Travel back in time to the 80s, reliving the advice,
Carpe diem. Seize the day.
the comebacks,
Why don't you take a picture? It'll last longer.
and the technology.
Are you telling me that you built a time machine? Out of a DeLorean?
Because just like you, we're stuck in the 80s.
Can you say stuck in the 80s?
Hey, welcome to Stuck in the 80s. It's Spearsy back in Florida.
And Brad from LA in New York, or was it Oklahoma? But really, I'm in New York.
And today we're going to seek shelter from the sun's evil rays and honor 3 movies perfect to watch during a heat wave. Don't you just love the summer?
This sucks. I am so unhappy. We should be at a real beach.
There are no more real beaches.
Yes, we should be at a real beach, or maybe in the snow, or someplace with a little cool rain and a gentle breeze, or even just a bucket of free ice for my drink.
You know, none of this is in the script.
I'm sorry, I can't see the script anymore. My sweat short-circuited the laptop. I'm just kind of making this up as I go.
Okay, I'll do it. Stuck in the 80s is a listener-supported show by Patreon. I don't know why I'm emphasizing Patreon like it's some sort of superhero.
Dun, dun, dun. Captain Patreon.
If Ultraman's light fails to blink, he may never rise again. That's all I remember from my childhood. We're back. Come join our Zoom happy hours, read exclusive content, and more. There's no pauses in this script. When you join at patreon.com/Stuck in the 80s podcast, maybe I'll create a Stuck in the 80s ice bucket via Patreon, and I can send it to Brad, who is still in New York and yet refuses to explain why.
No, I'll tell you why. It's not really that exciting. My job, I'm a consultant. We've talked about that, which, as we all know, is a fancy business term for whore. We do what our clients tell us to, and then they pay us for it. Like all kind of consulting work, you go where the projects are. And I thought I was going to have a nice, calm summer at home where it's hot. But instead, at the last minute, we signed a contract with a new client in New York City. And, they're new and we're new to them and we're trying to make a good impression. So we are trying to give them what I would call a little bit more white glove service than we normally would. So I'm here on site for probably about another month.
It's probably better than rubber glove service.
Moon River. Whew. Thank you, Doc. You ever serve time?
Well, that's a little extra, if you know what I mean.
So when you say you're a consultant, though, like for those who are somewhat fairly new to the show, you're a consultant in what industry?
Oh, I work in the media and entertainment business. I work for a consulting company that's, probably been around. Well, it has been around for 30 plus years, and we focus on television and radio broadcasters. So the business has changed quite a bit since I've been in it. But
very good.
That's what I do.
Very good. I got a panicked call from New York about an hour ago from Future Wife, who was also very disturbed at the temperature and the general climate of the city right now. It's
sweet Jesus, it is hot. And look, everyone makes jokes about, but it's a dry heat. It makes a big difference to this man. I got to tell you, I'm not used to that level of drippage coming from anywhere.
Well, there's the thing that I've learned from visiting New York so many times in the last 2 years is that it's not just the heat. There's no breeze, and then all the garbage that's laying around, which I'm sorry, but it's always like tomorrow is garbage day because there's always 50 bags of garbage laying out on the sidewalk every time you walk outside. Between that and the dog waste and just the general malaise of the city,
you're right. It all stacks.
And there's just and even when you go inside a store, like there's a Walgreens right across from the building where Future Wife lives. Not a Dwayne Reed, as you would think, Although,
No,
didn't you say that
no.
Dwayne Reed is owned by Walgreens or
I
something?
believe that future wife, please put in the ding sound effect, pointed out to both of us.
Okay, so there is a Dwayne Reed nearby, but there's a Walgreens right across the street, and I guarantee you,
Why would you walk any further than you had to?
there's no way on God's green earth that the air conditioning in Walgreens, that particular Walgreens, has worked for 2 days in a row since I've been in New York.
Well, I mean, look, New York has an array, a bouquet, one might say, of aromas available to you on the coldest of days. When you layer in 95 plus heat and 95% humidity, it amplifies and it moistens and it brings a whole new depth of flavor to the whole proceeding, I would say.
Yes. So when I was there for 2 weeks, and I just got home a few days ago, and it was nice. It was pleasant there. It was in the 70s. When I went up to visit your swanky, went down, I guess I went down to visit your swanky apartment, and it was a beautiful night. The temperatures were in the 60s or 70s.
The alcohol was flowing, as you might have noticed in our last podcast.
I actually wore long pants, which I never do.
No, that's very sad.
Did we drink too much in that last show? I mean, we got a lot of comments from people.
I don't feel like we drank too much. I feel like we drank just enough. I mean, here's the thing. The next morning, I went to bed thinking, oh, tomorrow is going to be rough. And I woke up and I'm like, I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
So I think we turned it off just in time.
Yeah, well, we drank. I think I had 2 drinks before the show and then 1 drink during the show. And then when it was over, we did a FaceTime with Dave Augie August, and then we promptly hung up on him when our food arrived from Sarge's Deli.
I barely remember that. Maybe we did drink too much. I remember the sandwich. I mean, sorry, Dave, but the pastrami's freaking it's scary how good it is.
I feel like we've channeled the energy from last week, so we should proceed with the actual show.
I feel like you're right. Is there a topic this week? I
forget.
So
here's how this came about. So Brad's on the East Coast, I'm on the East Coast, and earlier this morning,
I think I sweated through a pair of jeans walking to work this morning.
I had suggested, hey, let's do a 40th anniversary show on Dragon Slayer.
And I'm like, you know what? Stuck in 80s Nation, you may thank me later, but I threw myself on that grenade for you.
And I started watching it. I was watching it for like, I don't know, the first 30 or 40 minutes this morning. And then, thank God for Brad. So Brad goes, why don't we just do a show about like movies you watch during a heat wave?
Movies, 80s movies that you could enjoy during a heat wave. Right?
So the idea is we culled it down to 3 movies you can find on streaming services right now that have a theme of summer that you can watch without actually having to leave your house. You can order your alcohol via Drizzly. Have you done that, by the way? That's a big New York thing.
I've got it all queued up. I'm ready because Katie's coming out this week. And so I'm like, this is the Chardonnay she likes. I'll have that in the fridge.
It's fantastic
for me. And honestly, okay, look, we promised not to talk about New York this whole show, but good God, booze is expensive in this town.
Oh my God, yes.
So, I'm sorry, little guy on the corner. I know you're scraping to make it, but maybe if you weren't charging me $40 for a 750 milliliter of Tanqueray, I'd come back.
Yeah, that's pretty stiff. It's like $22 here in Orlando. If that, you could probably get under 20 somewhere here. But so Drizzly though, drizzly.com.
Yeah, no sponsorship deal there yet. Although the way we're drinking, it might be soon.
When I'm in New York, that's how I order my booze because the liquor stores in New York are also very small.
They're small, and I get that. The real estate's expensive here, so they don't have a lot of stock.
Right. So if you want like 1.7 liter of Bullet bourbon, good luck.
Yeah, they don't have handles. That takes up too much shelf space.
So you have to order that via Drizzly. So anyway, the point being
fascinating. I know.
The point being that you're home, you're listening to the podcast, you're second guessing yourself right now. You're wondering forever.
Just like puberty, it's going to get better.
Queue up Drizzly. You got Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu. Maybe you have HBO, Cinemax. We have 3 movies that will get you through the current heat wave that we're suffering through. The first one then is Weekend at Bernie's.
What kind of a host invites you to his house for the weekend and dies on you?
Why would he do this, huh? I mean, he had everything. house, cars, women. This is tragic.
I don't understand why he couldn't wait until Monday to kill himself.
Look, we have to call the police, huh? I mean...
And how am I going to get back to the city? He promised me a ride.
Knock it off, Larry. Who cares about a ride? We're talking death here.
Everybody remembers this movie. Did you see this movie in the 80s, or was this more of a cable thing for you, Brad?
I think I probably did. I love this movie. It's just so dippy, but it's so fun. And somehow, like, you know, it's Andrew McCarthy and Jonathan Silverman, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like this is one of those things like My Blue Heaven, where they cast Steve Martin as the FBI agent, and then they're like, actually, no, you should be Vinny.
Right.
I feel like Andrew McCarthy was cast as the straight man, and they flipped him over. Maybe that's true, maybe that's not. But I feel like that's the case.
You're absolutely right. That's exactly
really
that. Yep.
Crushed it.
Andrew McCarthy was originally sought out to be the straight guy here. He read the script. He loved the goofy guy better.
Yeah.
So he makes the switch. Jonathan Silverman, who, by the way, plays a fantastic straight guy.
Oh, yeah. He's great in this. They're both really good in this.
Yes. If you haven't seen it, well, then you're listening to the wrong podcast, but we'll cut you a break. They play young insurance corporation employees who discover that their boss, Bernie, is embezzling, but by the time they can finally put all the pieces together, he's dead.
Right.
And
they realize that the only way that they will stay alive is if people think he is still alive.
Right. It's fantastic. It was released 4th of July weekend back in 1989. So I wanted, I might
have seen it that weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw it. We would have seen this after college. Wow.
I mean, I was out of school at that point because I graduated in mid-June, and, you know, I had like $3 to my name. So I probably could have gotten into a movie.
It's like our lives. It's set in New York City right now.
Yeah.
Around Memorial Day weekend, when a heat wave has stricken the city. Sound familiar?
Yes.
Although most of it was actually filmed. I mean, the New York stuff was obviously filmed in New York, but the whole vacation house on the beach was filmed in North Carolina. Just FYI.
Oh man, I was going to drive out there this weekend.
You can't drive out to. You would have to take a boat. Anyway, $100 if you can name the actor who played Bernie.
It was Lars Jesterson. I have no idea. I don't remember.
Terry Kaiser.
Oh, of course. Terry Kaiser. That guy owes me money.
Okay. $200, double or nothing. If you can name another movie in the 80s that he was in. He did 10.
I'm not Googling. I really want to because I want the $200, but I'm not Googling.
10 movies.
He was in Terry Does Toronto.
He might have been in that movie, but
Kaiser Does Cleveland.
Of the 10 movies he did, the one that I remember is Six Pack with Kenny Rogers.
Oh, yes. And
what's weird is if you've seen the movie, cast your mind back.
Mm-hmm. He
He plays the villainous driver Turk Logan, who looks nothing like Bernie Lomax.
Right.
Nothing. If you have to pick another movie that you probably remember him from, it's 1990s Side Out. Do you remember that movie? You probably
It's a volleyball movie.
Yeah, you saw it because your son was a volleyball player.
The only volleyball movie ever made.
Okay, so one more fun thing. Catherine Mary Stewart plays the love interest of Jonathan Silverman. Can you name another couple of great movies she starred in the 80s?
Well, she's in Last Starfighter.
That's right.
Yes.
Fact check true. And gosh, she just has such a familiar face. You're like, you've seen her in a ton of stuff. And I'm sorry, 80s Nation. I did not do my homework on that, and I could not tell you what else she's in.
She's in a bunch, but the one that I was looking for was Night of the Comet.
Oh, crap. Of course she is. Yeah. Oh, that's a fun movie.
Yeah.
You can watch that if you want this weekend. No shade will be thrown on you.
By the way, speaking of Andrew McCarthy, which we don't do on this podcast because he won't appear on it.
Some people make choices.
Apparently in his new book that he's written that everyone's just so gaga about, which I'm sure is fantastic, and I'll read it someday once I get over the hurt feelings.
I hear good things, but yes, I'm right there with you. Simpatico, my brother.
According to the book, he said that he actually directed one scene from Weekend at Bernie's.
Really?
which was the scene when Jonathan Silverman's father shows up and ruins his date with Catherine Mary Stewart. The guy,
early
the
cringe
guy,
humor.
the guy who plays his dad was the movie's director.
Oh, so someone else had like, hey, Andrew, sit in that seat. Tell me what to do. Go.
For what it's worth, by the
I'm
way.
going to strip down to my boxers.
Which he did.
Like, I'm sure the whole set was like, holy crap, I did not need to see that.
That is actually a memorable scene. For what it's worth, Roger Ebert, who we hold in high regard. Yes,
we worship.
I do, at least. Do you? Or is it more of a me thing?
For the most part, I respect his opinions, but tell us what he thought about it.
I mean, he was like at his peak in the 80s. So it's like you
at least need to hear what he has to say.
He gave Weekend at Bernie's 1 star.
Ooh.
Writing, he wrote, Weekend at Bernie's makes 2 mistakes. It gives us a joke that isn't very funny and expects the joke to carry an entire movie.
Look, it's not Casablanca, okay?
You're at heart a sentimentalist. Oh, laugh if you will, but I happen to be familiar with the record.
It's like, it's an entire movie of dumb physical humor. And if that seems problematic to you, then, watch Casablanca.
Well, he also makes the point,
which is also very good. It's just not from our decade.
Yeah. I think he makes another point about how hard it is to make a movie about a dead person work, because there's just so many obstacles in your way. There's so many hurdles to making a movie about a dead guy work. And I think that's a great theory.
Yeah. I mean, Terry Kaiser was like physically pummeled making this movie.
His
didn't he break a rib at some point?
His stunt double did.
Oh, even worse.
When they were dragging him behind the boat and hitting all the man overboard.
Clong.
I don't think I've ever laughed as hard in my life until that moment. I thought I was going to piss myself.
Okay, now there's a subject, not the pissing yourself part, but the moments in movies that make you laugh every time you see them.
Yeah, that's
the only one I can really. The one that's really famous in my family is when we watch Elf, which is not an 80s movie, but the scene where Buddy gets hit by the cab. I lose my shit every time. I laugh so hard. And now it's to this point where like everyone in the room is watching me and I'm like, what if I don't laugh this time? Am I going to ruin the movie for everybody? Hasn't happened yet. I laugh my ass off every time that happens.
I like the, bye buddy. Hope you find your dad.
Find your dad.
or when he bursts into the cafe. Congratulations, you did it. Okay. As promised, we have 3 movies.
And that was one of them, in which we talked about like 3 others.
Cast your mind back to Southern California in the mid-'80s for summer school.
Francis Grimm.
Oh, don't recall me that. The name is Chainsaw.
As in Black and Decker?
As in Texas Massacre.
Summer School was released in late July. Actually, what's really cool is that all 3 movies that we're talking about today were actually summer movies.
Were released in the summer. See how hard we work to make the synergies work for you people? We are on it.
Bye, Brad. Hope you find your happy hour.
Hey, Steve. Hope you edit the podcast.
That's true. I got to edit this week. That'll be fun. Anyway, July 1987. So July 1987, we would have been sophomores?
Coming into our, that would have been rising college juniors.
Yes. Kind of at the height of our powers, right?
Pretty much, yeah. You're still pretty sure you know everything. You don't really have to worry about having a grown-up job.
Yeah.
Your job is going to school, as your parents will point out. Get some better grades, damn it. Yeah, things are pretty good. Maybe you got a girlfriend. Maybe you got a boyfriend. Maybe you have a friend.
I'm trying to think where I lived. Summer of 87.
That would have been, I think I was at home that summer because my parents had not yet moved back to Oklahoma to get away from me. Well, that was coming.
I only went home one summer during college. That was after my freshman year. The rest of them I stayed up in.
Well, yeah, because you had to live in the garage in the sweat box.
Right. Yeah. Well, that and just being under the rules.
Didn't have a doorbell. If you had a doorbell, you would have stayed.
I could draw you right now from memory a sketch of that house I grew up in, including the garage, where my room was, where the washer and dryer were, the pathway back to the doorbell and the door and everything.
I'm just, oh my gosh, I want to go there right now.
I think we had one of those what's it called, the reverse fan that's in the attic,
Oh yeah, a whole house fan or an attic fan. Well, there's two. There's an attic fan that pulls air just out of the attic. And there's a whole house fan that pulls air out of the house and pushes it into the attic.
That's what we had, and it was
They're like a helicopter.
It was and it was in my room, and what was really fun to do,
like pull all the stuff off your desk.
So yeah, the fun thing to do: shut the door to the room, open my window, add a window in this garage bedroom, and then turn on that fan, and it was like a jet engine going through my room.
You're like, indoor skydiving. Yes, I invented it.
It was fantastic. We also had a bumper pool table. I remember that. Did you ever have a bumper pool table?
I had friends that had one. Yeah, I did not.
I was pretty good at it.
I don't doubt that for a moment.
Sadly, there was no professional career to be made from it.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was a movie we were talking about. It was Summer School. That's right.
Right.
I don't remember.
It's about school in the summer, if I remember correctly.
I know, but I can't remember what I did that summer. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I was like you. I was at the height of my powers in college, and far enough away from home and far enough away from professional life that you're in that sweet spot.
Yeah, you're playing tennis every day. You're playing frisbee on the quad like college kids do, or so we're told.
Yeah. Tennis, I think that's what it was. Anyway, I think I was still living in the fraternity house. Anyway, and I used to bike 5 miles a day and play tennis every day, and I had a great tan. And I used Sun-In my hair to make it more blonde.
Oh my gosh! Oh, I need pictures of that, dude.
Somewhere I have it.
80s Nation demands photos.
Okay, so here's the point. Mark Harmon stars as a high school gym teacher who's forced to teach remedial English during the summer because Carl Reiner plays the teacher who wins the lottery and quits his job immediately.
Like, I'm out.
Carl Reiner also directed it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mark Harmon as Mr. Shoop is uninspired at first, but wises up after trying to win over another summer school teacher played by Kirstie Alley. It might be the last time Harmon ever played a comedy role, and it might be the last. Yeah, it might be the last time Kirstie Alley was ever funny intentionally.
Oh, intentionally. Okay, sure.
So
I'll buy that.
But I think most of us remember this movie best for like the oddballs in his class, including like Dave and Chainsaw.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the line that I quote from this movie all the time is, when the kid he runs into who's like moonlighting as a stripper, and that's why he's sleeping all the time in class. He's like, I'm at 18. It's all downhill from here. And Mark Harmon's character looks at him and says, yeah, but it's a lovely ride.
Not so sure he was right.
Well, it's a good line to give to an 18-year-old. What do they know?
Yeah. Probably a lot of Oingo Boingo fans appreciate the movie because Danny Elfman supervised the score and the soundtrack. So you get Oingo Boingo singing the song Happy. You have E.G. Daily singing Mind Over Matter.
That kind of makes it the ultimate 80s movie. If you've got E.G. Daily on the soundtrack, then we all need to sit up and pay attention.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, Blondie, Debbie Harry of Blondie recorded the song originally, but E.G. replaced her on the soundtrack because of some legal issues.
Lawyers.
Dean Cameron, the actor.
Probably
this was the movie that gave him his career, which he used so wisely to make Ski School and Ski School 2.
Well, Ski School 2 wasn't going to make itself.
Yeah. To be honest, I mean,
he's in the Fast Times TV show.
He was. He's had a fine career. I mean, the guy is working mainly more in TV than in film. I wish I was as much of a failure as Dean Cameron is.
That's called failing up, right?
Yeah. By the way, again, if you think that Roger Ebert hated Weekend at Bernie's,
oh no, Roger,
consider this. He only gave Summer School a half of a star.
Roger, you need to sneak the booze into the theater for these movies.
When was the last time you snuck booze in? Do you remember any movies that you snuck booze into?
No, because when we wanted to drink at the movies, we would just take it with us to the drive-in.
Oh, I got really
Plus,
hammered.
I worked there most of my movie-going life. So, like, if I needed to bring it in, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go see a movie. Yeah, fine, whatever.
Yeah, I guess unethical, I guess, to some degree. Yeah. I snuck in a whole bottle of Wild Turkey to watch The Doors with Val Kilmer. And when it was done, when we finished the bottle, which we did, we rolled it down the floor of the movie theater.
It's like being at the Hollywood Bowl and hearing the wine bottles roll down in the summer.
Anyway, I was obliterated that movie. I remember.
I feel like there's someone that wrote in about getting hammered. Like there's a story in one of our listeners past that they wrote in about getting hammered. I mean, it's probably a fairly common experience.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think I've done it more than twice. I did it for that.
But
I did it for
I've done it.
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I did it for, but I mean, you have to expect that for that.
That, yeah, really.
Anyway,
extra mop on hand for a movie like that.
When last week consulted the notes, Roger Ebert was talking, and he said, quote, "Summer School is a comedy so listless, leisurely, and unspirited that it was an act of will for me to care about it, even while I was watching it."
You know, Roger, why you gotta be so harsh? Why you gotta be so harsh, man?
Because it's fun. Harsh is funny.
I disagree with him. I don't think it's listless. I'll give it leisurely.
It's leisurely.
Unspirited, maybe we could say derivative.
It wasn't intended for Roger Ebert.
Yes, that's exactly right. This is not a movie for the critics. It's a movie for the college kids who are living their life.
Trivia time, Brad. Maybe we'll use this next cruise. What was the name of Mr. Shoop's dog?
It was Wonder Mutt.
Yes.
But I do not remember what the toy's name was that got washed out to sea and then washed up at the end.
Oh, crap. Write in if you know it, and we'll put you, anyone who has the right answer, which we'll find out. We'll enter you into a drawing. We'll enter you into a drawing for a postal friendly bottle opener. Okay, we've got one movie left, and Brad's going to represent it.
Okay, here we go. You ready for this?
Yes.
This is Stand By Me.
I'm never gonna get out of this town, am I, Gory? You can do anything you want, man. Yeah. Sure. Give me some skin. I'll see you. Not if I see you first.
Chris did get out. He enrolled in the college courses with me, and although it was hard, he gutted it out like he always did. He went on to college and eventually became a lawyer. Last week, he entered a fast food restaurant. Just ahead of him, two men got into an argument. One of them pulled a knife. Chris, who had always made the best piece, tried to break it up. He was stabbed in the throat. He died almost instantly.
Now, look. We're trying to find stuff you can watch now, and by the time we post this may not still be on Netflix, but you can still rent it on Amazon Prime, and I think it's worth a look.
I watched it twice today.
And you hate this movie, Steve. I'm sorry. Let me restate that. You have been on the record in the past as disliking this movie because you don't like 80s movies set in other decades.
And I don't like movies in general that are named after song titles.
Is it named after a song? Oh, it is. It is because it's based on a short story, but the short story isn't called Stand By Me.
Right.
What's the short story?
The short story is called The Body by Stephen King, and it comes from a collection of short stories called Different Seasons. And it was Different Seasons that gave us Shawshank Redemption, Apt Pupil. It's a rich collection of stories, and I've not read it. I don't read Stephen King. Do you read Stephen King?
You know, the only Stephen King I've read is the Dark Tower series, which I really enjoyed. But we've talked about this. I don't like horror movies. I don't read horror books. Like my imagination is already running about 1 billion miles an hour anytime I hear a strange noise, and I don't need any help in that department. So, but the Dark Tower series was great. It was fantastic. I very much enjoyed it.
Okay.
So anyway, check that out if you like books and you don't want to watch these horrible movies we're talking about this weekend. But let's talk about Stand By Me for a second. So it was released in late summer 1986, and it stars, you got some powerhouse young actors here. It's got Will Wheaton, River Phoenix, rest in peace, Corey Feldman, and Jerry O'Connell as preteens in the Oregon who embark on a mission over Labor Day weekend right before school starts in the fall to find a dead body.
Mm.
Yeah. because that's what kids, because when you're, how old are they, like 15,
12,
14,
going on 13.
12? So they're 12. They think that's a good idea. Like, why on earth, if I'm like at this point, I'm not going looking for a dead body. I'm going to find one in my own bed here pretty soon. It's going to be me.
Holy shit, this went dark.
Like, why am I in a rush to locate that noise? I got enough problems without confronting my own mortality. Just ask my friend Miles.
Can I ask you a quick question before you explain the movie any further?
Yeah.
How many dead bodies have you seen?
How many? So you're asking me is how many open casket funerals? So
No. Like, have you, like, in an unnatural setting
in the wild, dead human body, not in a hospital or at a memorial service?
Yeah.
I don't think any.
I've seen 2.
Okay.
One in the 80s, even.
Oh, that's the fraternity story.
Yeah, there was a guy who was stabbed outside my fraternity house.
That man was Steve Spears. This whole thing is just a construct of his imagination. He's in a coma. We don't exist. It's a simulation.
Tech support.
Tip your waitresses.
Support. No, yeah. So there was the guy who was stabbed to death, stabbed and then died in front of us on a chair that we never used again.
Yeah.
And then we all still spent the night there because life is an 80s
somewhere.
movie.
Yeah.
And it just didn't occur to me like maybe we should go somewhere else. Like, that's where my bed was.
Yeah.
And then a guy died on a scuba trip about 20 years ago.
Really?
In Mexico, off of Cancun. We went on this trip, and an older gentleman had a heart attack underwater and died.
Oh, geez.
They brought him on board. Like, we didn't know what was going on. We were still diving.
You're diving, and like, what's going on up there?
Yeah, and they're giving us this signal, like, come on up. And we're like, okay, maybe there's some problem. We get up there, and he dies right in front of us on this little tiny scuba board. And then so we come into port, and then all the Mexican police are waiting for us.
Yeah.
And I think we were there for, I don't know, seemed like half a day.
Yeah. You're still there.
It's probably still a worn out. I don't think have I been back to Mexico since then? Yeah, I have been, but just Cozumel. But no, he died. He had a heart attack underwater. It was, scuba is not for, you got to be in a certain degree of health to do it, which is why one of the reasons why I don't do it anymore. But plus, it was a challenging dive. It was a drift dive. I don't know if you know what a drift dive is.
No, I don't know anything about it.
Drift dive is when you're diving and there's a current in the water. And what the best thing to do is just to hold still, and then a current like moves you along the reef, so you don't have to like expend any energy. But if you decide to fight the current, well, then that's a losing battle.
Fast.
Yeah, you get tired fast, and you have a heart attack and die underwater. So,
oof, wow, what a way to go.
Anyway,
so on a more cheerful note, we should talk about how Stephen King, who wrote the short story this is based on, felt about this. After Rob Reiner screened the movie for him, he noticed that King was shaking. He was not speaking at all. He just got up and left the room. And when he came back, he told Rob Reiner the movie was the best adaptation of his work he'd ever seen.
Wow.
Yeah, high praise.
Yeah.
Because it's not like he hasn't had more than a few adaptations. I will say I don't like horror movies, but I do really like the movie Christine. There's something about the sinister car that just is so.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Interesting note about Stand By Me. It's only 100. It's an hour and 28 minutes.
Is it really? It feels longer than that.
No, it's super fast. I mean, that's
Hero's journey is very quick, huh?
Well, I think that's what is so great about it. In retrospect, is that they didn't feel the need to like put a bunch of stuff in there that didn't belong to like, oh, this needs to be 2 hours. No, it doesn't need to be 2 hours.
There's just enough of them fooling around and telling stories around the fire. Yeah. Wow.
So here's a weird thing. So like I'm watching this movie today while I'm working, and I'm texting Brad, which I'm sure is annoying to all.
I like a little distraction in my day.
But I couldn't understand. There's a scene where Will Wheaton is sitting there in the morning, and a deer comes up to him, but comes near him.
The clearing, yeah.
Looks at him and then moves on. And I didn't understand it because keep in mind I hadn't seen this movie in a long time. So I text Brad. I'm like, what's with the effing deer?
It's like, what the is with the deer, man? Why don't we just make venison jerky? Get on with it.
I didn't say that.
Oh my gosh, your soul is dead.
No.
Like the deer is okay. So Will Wheaton's character has lost John Cusack, which is heartbreaking for any
Yes.
of us to lose John Cusack, his big brother. in the
Right.
movie. And his, things are weird at home, and his friends have problems, and he's got problems. And this deer comes into the scene, and he sees it, and it's this, to me, it is this realization that life will continue, and that not all of life is going to be horrible and scary. That's the way I see that. Like, it's a moment of grace, if you will, in that moment. And he didn't share it with anybody, right? Because he was like, somehow he felt like that was something for him.
And he says in the narrator says, I didn't tell my friends and I've never written about it until now. So he makes a very big deal about it.
Yeah. So I think that is how he took that moment. And perception is reality. That's kind of where I think what that was supposed to mean. If you will. In as much as anything's supposed to mean anything, this podcast is supposed to mean you have trouble making good choices about what to listen to.
I'm just curious. I would love to hear other people's opinions on the deer scene. Like,
write us and tell us where we missed that one or where I missed it, because Steve doesn't have an opinion. He just thinks it's an animal to walk through.
No, I mean, I want. No. This is where you get me all wrong. Like, I want to understand things better, and I know that was a pivotal scene, but my mind couldn't wrap itself around what the meaning was.
It's a beat in the movie that's a little out of sync with the rest of the story. And I think that's why you kind of have to look a little bit. Maybe we should get Rob Reiner on the show, get them to talk about it.
Oh God, how cool would that be?
Oh my gosh, that'd be amazing.
We could ask.
Yeah. But it would be interesting to see what he was trying to say, because I feel like, and without reading the short story, maybe there's more in the story itself. It's like I said, it's kind of a little interlude, right? Yeah. And why do you do it? Why do you, if you're making a movie that's an hour and 22 minutes, you don't have a lot of time to waste.
28 minutes.
Everything's in there for a reason. And the deer is in there because they promised its agent the deer would get 30 seconds on screen.
Yeah, it did. It was a beautiful deer. Speaking of Rob Reiner, I have read that he considers Stand By Me to be the best film he's ever made. Is he right, though? I mean, let's just consider some.
Wow.
Spinal Tap, The Sure Thing. Okay, it's better than The Sure Thing.
Better than The Sure Thing. It's a better motion picture experience.
Yeah.
Than The Sure Thing.
Princess Bride.
They're different.
When Harry Met Sally. You know what? You're right. They are all there. Wow. There's nothing there that's even similar.
No, because it's coming of age. Wow. Rob Reiner. Man, we don't deserve you.
That's true.
We don't deserve you. So here's the thing that I always think about when we talk about Stand By Me is the writer, it's the framing device, right?
Yes, of course.
And it's Richard Dreyfuss. And
yeah,
Rob Reiner had a lot of trouble casting this role.
Yes.
He had David Dukes in there, and they had Michael McKean and other people. And then finally he called his high school friend, Richard Dreyfuss, to do it. And I think actually Dreyfuss is great in it. And the kids are like, what's your dad doing? Are we going to go swimming? Like, that's just so freaking spot on. It's perfect.
Yeah.
But what does Richard Dreyfuss, AKA the writer, do at the end?
Oh, I knew you were going to bring this up.
He just turns the computer off. Look, kids, we don't have solid state drives back. We don't have did you mean to turn off your computer? We can recover this copy for you. He spent the whole time writing his little tickety-tackety, on his mechanical keyboard, clack with the green phosphor screen. And then he just flips it off.
You know what, though?
Save the file.
You know what? I'm just now, this is just now coming to me. Maybe he didn't want to save it. Going through the exercise was enough.
Spears, you just blew my mind.
Oh my God. I got chills.
You just blew my mind. I had never considered that. And that is entirely possible.
That would be entirely possible.
Oh, okay. I'm going to need a minute. Wow. Yeah. No. Oh gosh. I love that. That's my new interpretation. I am claiming it as the Steve Spears Gambit. Wow.
You know what other gambit I'd like to try right about now? The Seggies.
What's happening, hot stuff?
Ah, by the sound of the gong. Blissful sleep.
Thank goodness. It cannot come soon enough.
Oh God, that last minute revelation there kind of
I'm shook. I'm shookinated.
It's gonna screw with me for a while. Anyway, time for a mystery movie moment. We will oh God. I feel like I need to stretch. Like I feel like I need to get up and like
nope, you gotta see this one through, bro.
Do some planks. I don't even know what planks are.
But you're gonna do some.
We will play a snippet of a movie from the 80s. If you get it right, you're entered into the drawing for the Postal Friendly Bottle Opener. It's amazing how much whiskey opens up the whole like the whole larynx. I feel really like I could talk for hours now. Which
he feels good, like he knew that he would now.
Yeah. From show 603. That doesn't sound right, but I'm sure it is. Here was the mystery clip.
Who's buying the booze?
That's Brewster's Millions. By the way, do you know that Brewster's Millions has been like remade like 3 times?
Yeah. Yeah, because that version is a remake.
Yeah, of a remake of a remake.
Yeah.
It is very popular.
It's a fun story.
Okay, so we had some winners. Not as many as I would have thought. And they had some fun with you. So go ahead and read some winners.
Here we go. This week's winners include Cliff in Essex, England, Jesse El Gato Grande Smith, Commodore 64 Will, Wendy in Charleston, South Carolina, son of Hugo, Andrew Palm, Storm Surge, James in Indy, DJ Elliott, Josh in Atlanta, Gene in Hollister, not the store, the town. Thanks, Brad. Todd in Minnesota, Darren in Ukaipa, Colin, give me my postal friendly bottle opener. Hall, Lance, Chadwick, Lee in the UK, and Cal and Deb in Atlanta, who write. For Steve, I thought I'd share my sappy love story since he is so romantic these days. Oh my gosh. Look, as an aside, let me just say, I had dinner with Steve and the future wife 2 weeks ago now, I think.
2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, they're very sweet together. It was fun to have dinner with them and spend the evening with them. And I was a jerk and didn't ask them like how their wedding was going and any of that stuff.
That's fine.
We had a really nice evening. Anyway, Cal and Deb continue. I wonder if they wrote this together. I don't know. Like maybe they took
I think
turns
this is
writing
more
words.
Cal.
That's
more Cal than Deb.
So Cal writes, I met my first wife in high school in 1985, our sophomore year. We never dated in high school, but worked together on the school paper for several years. Home from college for spring break my freshman year, we went out a few times. To make a long story short, we dated and eventually married in 1989. Probably too young, but it did last 12 years, and we split after finding we wanted different things in life. We both remarried, and she moved around to other parts of the country, but we remained friendly and kept in touch over the years. Neither of those relationships worked out, and this year, 20 years after our divorce, we found ourselves single again and started talking. Much to our surprise, the things that split us up were no longer a factor, and we found that we still had a great deal in common and a unique shared history. We found ourselves laughing and remembering things from our past, food, music, movies, and events that only we share. This past weekend, we remarried.
Wow.
Not quite 32 years after our first wedding.
Wow.
That's fantastic. It was amazing to see our families together, most of whom hadn't seen each other in decades and who are spread across the country. We couldn't be happier and are having a blast meeting and making new memories with all of the old and new family members and friends. And yes, we're both hopelessly stuck in the 80s with you guys. Thanks for all that you do. We love the podcast and hope to make it to the 80s cruise one day. Cal and Deb in Atlanta.
Wow.
You know, that's amazing, Cal. I'm so happy for both of you.
Cal sent before then and now photos to me in the email, but they came across as broken images, so I couldn't see him. So I sent him a note back earlier today saying, please resend these photos. I gotta see them.
Must see.
So that's fantastic. Oh, that's such a great story. So wow, geez, crazy, huh?
You're just like Phil Collins.
I am where they are.
They are, because didn't he like leave his wife and then got back with his wife? Now, what you need to watch out for, Cal, is when Deb moves into your house in Miami and changes the locks.
Yeah, God,
don't let that happen.
Poor Phil Collins. 3 words I never thought I'd say, but there we go. Anyway, pay attention. Here's this week's mystery movie clip.
Auf Wiedersehen!
Yeah, auf Wiedersehen.
You're a funny guy.
It's funny. That's funny with the auf Wiedersehen thing. What a psychotic.
If you know it, or even if you have a great story to tell. Because right now, I love the great stories. I don't think anyone's going to top Cal and Deb, though. But email us at, this is where I tripped up on the last show, 605, was it? Email us at podcast@sit80s.com. And tune in a few weeks to find out if you're a winner. The mystical refrain that is Name That 80s Tune. This podcast is coming in for a smooth landing, I guarantee you.
This is the signature Seggy that's stuck in the 80s.
Yeah.
The OG of Seggies, and Steve is going to tell you why.
I don't know why. Once upon a time, we had this dream that we should talk about stuff other than the topic of the show. And we said, what if we made a contest?
Groundbreaking.
What if we did like something that solicited reader feedback? Would that be a good idea? Turns out it was. 16 years ago.
Holy smokes.
Holy crap. Can you hear the clinking of my ice? My ice is almost completely melted. I'm going to put down my drink.
Mine's all gone. I got a dead drink here.
Dead stick. Anyway, pay attention. Here was the mystery clip from show 603. That's Paul Hardcastle with 19.
In World War II, the average age of the combat soldier was 26. In Vietnam, he was 19. In Vietnam, he was 19. In Vietnam, he was 19.
I don't know why I chose this, but
good pick.
I did.
I did want to thank you earlier when I was pulling the name of the 5,000 people who got it right. You just get to say them. I had to like cut and paste their names. It took me like 45 minutes.
Dude, do you have 2 screens on your computer?
I don't know how I do anything.
You put the notes on one screen and the email on the other screen, and you search for the winning title.
That's what I did. This is your turn, Brad. I'm going to go take a short nap while you read some names.
This week's winners include Cal and Deb in Atlanta, Tim from Nashville, Chris Deep Cut Sampson, Kyle K in Arkansas, Terry in Perth, Cliff in England, son of Hugo, Chuck Whaley, Phil from Adelaide, Marlon from Fort Worth, well, not really Fort Worth, more Burleson, but technically not Burleson either, but more exactly the Rendon area, which is not a town, just an area named after a sheep herder. Martin the Irish Evertonian, Bob in Tamworth, UK. Steve says this is a large market town about 14 miles northeast of Birmingham. Charles from Yorktown. Jeremy in St. Pete, who sent us a photo of his stuck in the 80s coffee mug on his home office desk. Mailman Jeff in Jacksonville. Tamara Deaver, Noel in Ireland. Cliff from somewhere north of Detroit. Donnie Gettle rhymes with cough drop. Nick in Atlanta. What? Nick in Alabama. D&B Yeager. Paul Ryan in Montreal, Stroobs from Rutherford, Lee in the UK, Jeff Penne Pasta, Caroline with a K in Calgary, Kevin Pipe Wench, Richard the Big Bunny, Plain Pulling Tom, there's a comma and no other name, and Plain Pulling Tom.
Yep, sorry about that. It's a fun list of names. I really like the people who really explain where they live. And I like that Donnie Gettle has stopped saying rhymes with metal, so I can just insert whatever I want to there.
He knows we know. When you know, you know.
And it's nice to have Nick in Alabama so that we know we actually have a listener in Alabama now, because I think that's a first.
Well, I bet there's some people at the NASA facility there that listen to us.
Surprising number of people. Surprising number of people from the UK. That's good to hear. So anyway, let's spin the wheel. Let's find out who's going to take home a. By the way, I feel so connected with Cal and Deb in Atlanta. You guys send us your address. We're going to send you some fun swag because that's a great story. And I want to send you something in return, like a wedding present, a belated wedding present. So send us your.
Steve says that, and I'm like, I want to see a wedding certificate. Anybody could write a story.
Well, if you write a story that good, I'll send you a wedding present anyway. But I love that story. It's fantastic. But anyway, Brad he's all oiled up.
I am. I'm all sweaty.
Don't ask how I know that. And you're going to spin the wheel.
Being here in New York. Here we go. You ready?
Yep. Anyway, it looks like it's going to land on Charles from Yorktown. You are this week's magical winner. You're not really magical, but you're send us your postal address.
So Charles, in the interest of full disclosure, while I'm in New York, ain't no swag getting mailed out because all that stuff is at home. But when I get home, it's all going out in a big flurry. So you will get it before school starts.
Barely.
Well,
and really, at your age, you really shouldn't be going to school anymore.
I know, right?
Pay attention.
Or throwing anyone.
Here's this week's mystical clip. It's mystery. Is it mystical or mystery?
Here's this week's mystery clip.
If you know it, email us at podcast@sats.com. My God, if I don't have another drink soon, I'm going to die.
Oh, we better wrap this baby up. Bring this thing in for a landing.
And we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Want something tasty and delicious? Taco Bell, Taco Bell.
I love the one and only original taste of Taco Bell's beefy tostada. They use fresh ground beef, never frozen, cooked in their own famous sauce, real cheddar cheese, and it's made up fresh.
Come taste the one and only taste. Taco Bell, can't find it any other place. Taco Bell, come taste the one and only original. Taco Bell.
And we're back. We have just a couple seconds left. Actually, we could talk for another 2 hours, but you won't listen.
Technically, yeah. Let me look at the disk space remaining. I could record for another 1,205 hours and 5 minutes.
Interesting. Just want to say a special thank you to our new patron on Patreon, Jim Salber. Am I saying that right? Like I expect Jim to raise his hand and tell me. He'll email me though. Thank you for joining. We look forward to seeing you on future happy hours, Zoom happy hours.
Thanks, Jim.
Dave Augie August has promised that he will be completely wasted for the next one, so that'll be fun. So he and Chase can kind of carry that
co-host
torch.
so I can mute people, please.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I hope you enjoyed our take on the heat wave movies of the 80s. Obviously, it was very scientific, so we'll take your criticism very harshly.
It's really something to get you through a heat wave. It's not so much something that represents a heat wave, except the heat of our love for these movies.
We'll be back soon with more shows. But in the meantime, Brad and I remain here, one drizzly delivery away, hopelessly stuck in the 80s.
Stuck in the 80s is now on Patreon. If you'd like to support the show, go to patreon.com/stuckintheeighties podcast. Special thanks to Check Battery Daily for our theme music, and thanks for listening.